Hey church, my name is Nick Tucker. I'm one of the student ministries interns here at the Heights Church. So I get the privilege of bringing the Devo for the day and the continuation of our thread, because Jesus is my shepherd. So because Jesus is my shepherd, I can be restored and revived. Now we can find this in Psalm 23, primarily verses 2 and 3, and the first part of 3, and this is in the Passion Translation. It says, "He offers a resting place for me in his luxurious love. His tracks take me to an oasis of peace, the quiet brook of bliss. That's where he restores and revives my life." Now immediately for me, when I think of the word restore, I think of old classic cars. Old classic cars for me is something that's always been a part of my family. Growing up, my grandfather had numerous different classic cars, and he would participate in car shows. I would go to the Good Guys car shows at my local fairgrounds. And it was so rad because I'd see my grandfather take something that looked so beat up and so ugly and turn it into something that had purpose and life given back to it. I think it's the same thing with why we're able to say, because Jesus is my shepherd, I can be restored and revived. You see, you take an old classic car and you put in work to get it to run again. You restore it back to a point where it's able to ride along the streets again. But you're not done there. Just because it runs doesn't mean you're finished. See, with the classic cars, you're not finished until you get that fresh new paint job on it. Something that really takes that old car that once looked beat up and it runs great, but if it still looks like it's got rust on it, obviously it's not going to be finished. But once that paint job goes onto it, everything looks great. That car has been revived. That car has been restored. And I think the same can be true with how Jesus works with us in our relationship with him. Growing up, I wasn't always a Christian, and it wasn't until Jesus got a hold of my heart and I was able to declare Jesus as my shepherd that he truly restored and revived my life. He was able to take something that I saw as purposeless and something without value and something that was just kind of dead, and he was able to take that and restore it back so I could realize the purpose that's before me. So that way I could realize that because Jesus was my shepherd, because he is my shepherd, my life was restored and revived. And I think in this time, as it can be true, we can find ourselves getting so caught up in thinking that because we're not working, because we've lost our routines, that we don't have much of a purpose other than sitting around the house. But just like the old classic cars, that car might sit in the garage for months on end, but that time doesn't matter, because once you get that thing out on the roads with a new paint job, that car has been restored and revived. So because Jesus is my shepherd, I can be restored and revived.